Life upon the wicked stage ain't ever what a girl supposes.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Olivia.
And we are, in fact, three different people.
This podcast focuses on true crime under the spotlight of arts and entertainment. So grab your beverage of choice and settle in.
Places, ladies.
Here's our episode.
We have in our studio today the one, the only Matthew Palm from Orlando Sentinel. Yay!
I think we mention Matt like every episode.
We do, Matt.
Once.
Wow.
We invoke your name
A lot.
constantly, and you're internet famous, and it's usually in awe of how the hell does he do it, and what would Matt Palm think? You know what, guys? Merch. What would Matt Palm do? I think we need bracelets. WWMD. What would Matt MPD? What would Matt Palm do? And Matt is sharing a mic with Ashley, so if they sound a little different today, it's because Matt doesn't have technology in his personal house.
We barely have technology in our person.
That's true. He got to see us try to figure it out before we
Y'all
went.
know
before we
how long
pressed
it took
record.
me to get this damn microphone. I had what did you call
season
it?
and a half.
You called it like
Fisher-Price
Fisher-Price
mic.
microphone.
Yeah.
Well, better than me would be shouting at my laptop. So, listen, old school journalism. I work for mainstream media. Remember, I print people in print.
Bryn.
Friends, I still use a notepad.
I do.
Print-
Love it.
Just for
Yeah. Print
maybe,
is not dead.
listeners
It's
who
not
are
dead.
outside it's not dead. No. For our listeners who are outside of the Central Florida area, just give us like a quick. Who are you? And just like, what is your job? Because some people, I feel like, even who think they know, might not actually know what your
I was
job
gonna-
is.
I was going to say that might be for the Central Florida area, too. What is your job? What does it entail?
Well, my job is an ever evolving and expanding concept. Basically, I work for the Orlando Sentinel, which is the daily newspaper in Orlando, Florida. This job is called, when I was hired for it, it was called the Theater, Arts, and Culture Writer and Critic. Does that sound like a lot of stuff?
It's a lot of stuff rolled into one.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
It encompasses, as you can imagine, a myriad of topics. I'm technically cover arts organizations in 4 different counties: Orange, Osceola, Seminole, and Lake, which is always sad to our friends in Volusia and Polk.
Volusia and Polk,
Art.
yeah.
I think I should also be covering them, which, in an ideal world, sure, but there's only so much time because that we're talking like more than 60 arts organizations, and that's just the big one.
This is
Correct.
arts, capital A.
Arts, yes. So all orchestras, classical music, ballet, dance companies, art museums, which of course is partly why I'm here today to talk about anything that could fall under culture, which sometimes leads into things like the circus, Disney on Ice. Who's going to cover
God.
that? Would be Matt. So yes, it's more things that
Do
you
it.
might expect that like a quote unquote theater critic would be covering. Now, part of that is fun because it does give me a little more variety than I drew the line once at a monster truck show. I was like, I don't even
Wow.
so I don't know how to get a person to do this.
Wow.
How
I'll be
would you-
next. They'll be like, it's
How
art.
would you start to review a monster truck? I'm trying to imagine your take on the ferocity of the roaring engines was captured in the flames painted on Thunderbird,
Right.
the killer
Well done.
Cybertruck.
Well, yeah,
think
you
you
get
nailed
away
it.
with for sure. But but the trickiest part about it all is the fact that it is, as you heard, writer and critic. I am the
Right.
news reporter on these topics, and I'm also the critic of the actual work that these organizations do. And so that, as you might imagine, is often personally a little tricky, as I might be interviewing, the leader of one organization about a news story, and then 2 days later, I'm sitting in the theater saying, I don't really like the way this turned out, or, this could have been better. And it can be a little awkward, but also
Yeah.
it means that my time has to be split. And this is something a lot of performing arts organizations don't quite always understand.
Yeah.
Like only a third of my job is really supposed to be spent reviewing.
A third.
Third.
Wow.
third.
Only a third.
Yeah.
Wow.
1/3 reviewing, 1/3 news reporting, 1/3 feature columns. I have 2 columns that run the paper every week.
Wow.
Calendar section and Sunday's travel and art section. And then, like previews, interviews.
Right.
Sometimes I do like roundups of events that are coming up. My team name is Things to Do. So our emphasis is always on telling our readers things that they can do to enjoy their free time. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, only 1/3 of my allegedly 40-hour-a-week job is supposed to be spent on reviewing. We have formulated that to be 100 reviews a year. And that is kind of what the limit is, the goal is. So
Mhm.
for
That's wow. So that works out to like 2 reviews a week.
That's great.
Wow. So when do you sleep?
Ever?
Do you?
I do, but I sleep at odd times when people that are emailing me like, why aren't you answering this email?
We're curious all because we were kind of like, what are we going to ask Matt? We have his undivided attention. And so what kind of arts or theater is your favorite? Not like to review, but you, Matt Palm, the person, what do you enjoy?
Oh, tricky. What do I enjoy?
Matt's like, I
Yeah.
hate the arts.
Matt's like, I want to go to a monster truck
I want to
show.
go to a monster truck show.
No, I will say that, and this is going to be sort of a standard critic answer, maybe. Maybe, what cake versus chicken or be? I guess, are you a critic because of this, or do you be critic? I like to see new things I have not seen before, and I'm not that picky about it. I mean, there's something exciting about experiencing a story for the first time, or a piece of music that you've just never experienced before, to judge yourself. Like, what emotions is this music making for me? What am I gleaning from what these characters are saying on the stage? I mean, it's really exciting to
That's cool.
I hope my writing makes it sound like, this was exciting. This was like interesting, or, this had a positive connotation. Even when you're criticizing something, that doesn't mean that it was not worth your time. It means you
Right.
saw things you would wished were done differently. But there's something so interesting about like new, fresh work, even when it's not perfect yet, even when they're still working on it, where
Yeah.
you feel like, this has the potential to go somewhere, to be something.
Opinion. It's your opinion based on your experience, your perception, your filter, right? You're coming in with
You're very clear. Like when something is a review, especially, it literally says review, and then whatever show is. But then I feel like sometimes when you're writing about often like, the news reporting or the feature, and it'll be something like, I think you recently did some reporting on like Epic Universe and the shows there. And there are people like, well, why didn't he say this or that?
And it's funny you bring up the Epic Universe coverage. I didn't mention theme park shows often that involve professional actors often come my way as well. I ended up writing 2 stories about the new Epic Universe shows, because we internally at the Sentinel were like, we can't do this. It's kind of a mishmash now of like
Yeah.
talking to people who designed them and what the purpose was, and then also sort of trying to explain my my impressions of them.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a news story that ran first about, here are the shows, this is what they wanted to achieve, and then I came back like a week or 2 later with, okay, now I've seen them, here is what I thought about them and how they worked, and my emphasis, the way I usually cover theme parks, is what is sort of the professional human element to it, right? But here's the thing, and again, I just wrote a column about this that ran recently, just talking in general, like theme parks need to remember that all their beautiful buildings and things is the people that make it work. One of the reasons that Toothless is so amazing is because you see him interacting with actors playing the characters from the franchise, or guests who sort of become like part of the show and their interaction. That's why you're like, oh, it's adorable. He was standing there.
Right.
You think, well, that was cool, but you wouldn't have the same
Yeah.
emotional connection you do to see the interaction between actual people, actors, and the technology.
And as
Yeah.
when it even with that technology, though it is, animatronic to some degree, that is effectively a puppet that's
Right.
being controlled
Yeah.
by someone.
There are people who are, yes,
so much
the
like
secrets behind Toothless.
yeah, but like technology is incredible, but it is still puppeteering in the sense that like a Muppet is also
Right.
being
The
controlled
human
by-
controlling knows when to, turn the head a little or move the paw a little or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's so cool.
But yeah, there's a human that human performer, even though we don't see them, is
They're part of it.
using the human emotion to create their own story, their own art. I mean, it's theater. It's
It
what you
is.
do in theater.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much talent in Central Florida, because we have the theme parks and people
parks.
can
Right.
come here and work in their chosen field and not have to, waitress.
I reviewed a musical once, I think at the Garden, and like I would say 90% of the cast was all also in Finding Nemo at Disney World.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what kind of the amazing thing too, I think, about theme park performers in particular, because it's like it is, I'll say maybe not unlike, being a performer like on Broadway, where it's like you are doing the same show like a job, every day, however many, it's 8 shows a week on Broadway. I'm sure it works out to much more than that, in a theme park setting, but then also be like, well, as a performer, I also want to be challenged and have
Yeah.
opportunities to like go be at Orlando Shakes or to like go and do like, the Sound of Music somewhere.
It's good for
different.
performers to
Yeah.
stretch their brains and try something new, to have a break, do something else. Or musicians, every time they learn a new piece of music, that expands their
Yeah.
repertoire, their neural net about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But so that is a definite benefit of doing this job in Central Florida, is there is a wide variety. And I'm talking about like monster truck shows, and that part, Feld Entertainment produces a lot of
Yeah.
their the
Yeah.
Disney ice shows, those big arena shows, that Jurassic Park show that toured through, or they're based in right outside our coverage area. They're based down towards Sarasota. So
Mhm.
we actually get a lot of their touring productions first. Like they
Oh,
get
sure.
Orlando before they go out around the country, which then also does add to why we cover them, because we're the
Debut.
first
We're
way.
You're the first.
New people have not heard of it. It's news in that
Yeah.
sense, that it's something new. So
Yeah.
there is just a huge wide variety that I get to do here. I mean, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's
It's
too
too
much,
much.
everybody. A
Right.
third.
If you see like Matt Paul, just like I don't know, it's like how should people approach you? Like should it be like a hug, like a high five? Here's a
Give you a drink. Like,
want-
here's a
yeah.
glass of
Do you
wine.
need a Snickers? Do you need you need a Snickers, Matt? You need a Snickers bar to kind of
Yeah.
But no, it is funny. And I mean, we won't belabor this, but the other confusing thing about this is all 3 of those jobs are happening on a different time scale. Yours is generally immediate. You're trying to do that as fast as possible. My columns have deadlines, which are like a week to a week and a half before they publish. So I'm working in the future on those, like trying to say, I know this isn't happening till August 8th, but I've got to turn this into my editor next week. We need to talk about it now.
Right,
These are very time specific. I'm going going this day. I turn that around within a day or two.
Yeah.
Your mind has sort of keeping 3 calendars as
Wow.
what you're
God.
wow.
doing.
And that's why you still
Whoa.
have a notebook, so you can
Right.
write it all down, and no technology is gonna mess with your calendar.
I still have a planner. It
Yeah, me
involves
too.
Colored pencils.
I love
like color coding things.
I love it. I
Yep.
love it. Matt, so this kind of is a little bit of a segue into the other thing, because we want to talk about you and your world and just your but we specifically wanted to kind of do about which we did was a previous episode, which hopefully we don't get in trouble for, because we definitely shared our opinions.
Allegedly. It's
we're not
allegedly.
journalists. We don't have journalistic integrity.
We have no integrity.
None.
We, as a matter of fact, none. We are beholden to no integrity.
Given the volume of materials I purchased and looked at for my John Wilkes Booth episode earlier this season,
She's on the
I'm
list.
probably on an FBI watch list.
Yes,
Yes. This ship is already sailed. The horse is out of
Yep.
the barn.
There's
Yeah.
already a warning to our local officials. You may want to not sit in the box of any theater.
Something that we've all seen on it happens on your timeline, Matt, and I think it's also, I've seen it pop up on others' timelines. Sometimes your words become very polarizing in this community.
Right.
There's a lot of really passionate people who have a lot of causes close to their heart, and I think sometimes probably your review or not review. They think it should have been a review,
But it's a
perhaps,
news story.
or
Yeah.
maybe a review came out and they didn't like your opinion, and it becomes a polarizing topic about you on Facebook, let's say, or their social
Correct.
media. Do that. How do
Not
you
take it personally.
personally? But I'm sure sometimes you do take it personally. You're a human. How do you keep that line?
So that is the $1 million question right there. It is not always easy. That is a fact. And I mean, this sounds so crazy, but I do have to say to myself, sometimes out loud, I have a platform to give my opinion. This is their opinion, and they are just as able to do it. It's interesting because sometimes you feel like you did not succeed as a writer, because I find often when people get angry or upset about something I've written in a review, it's like they didn't
Yeah.
understand what I wrote. And I thought, how is
Mm.
it not clear what I'm saying? And of course, that's a gray area.
Yeah.
You're close to something, you're reading in a different way.
Where you're reading
Someone-
into
right.
something more than
Yeah.
what you
Right.
More than what you meant.
And I will tell you this, the thing that bothers me the most usually is there have been cases where people who I don't know, who I've never met, they've never met me, they know nothing about me, are chiming in with what I thought, what I meant, clearly he thinks blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you feel free to criticize my words if you don't like them, but you don't know me. You don't know what I'm
Mm.
thinking, what my motive was, what I'm doing. I mean,
Right.
who are
Yeah.
Who are you?
That's like Mariah Carey. I don't know her.
and that does bother me,
Yeah.
because that's often when something on Facebook goes off the rails, as I
Oh,
say,
sure.
just goes out of control. All these total strangers thinking that they know exactly what was in my heart or my mind. And it's
Right.
Yeah.
no, that's not what was happening there at all.
And ascribing, all you can say, like a step further, ascribing intent to that. Because
Right.
it's not even like,
Yes.
well, you took my words out of context. It's like, well, now you're making assumptions about like
Who I am.
as a human. Yeah.
For
As a
you,
human,
my
yeah.
intent is to tell the reading audience what my reaction to the show was. And then, I mean, reviews are more for conversation starters. They can
Sure.
go and decide if they agree with me or not, if they reacted differently and discuss it and whatever. But there's no like other sort of malicious intent to
Right.
like
Right.
project some sort of secret agenda or something. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's frustrating. But
Right.
I mean, so you do have to make like a mental break, because it's not just the world of social media we live in. It's not just what they say about me or my reviews on social media. I know way too much about actors, directors. I know their
Yeah.
political
everyone
opinions.
puts it out
I
there all
see
the
how they
time.
treat other people.
Yeah.
I see lots of things that in a normal social situation would make you have an opinion about someone as a human. When
Yep.
reviewing on
Yep.
stage,
think
I'm
about that.
very careful that it doesn't matter what they did yesterday. If they went out and picked 12 puppies in the street and put a picture of it on Facebook, all that matters for the purpose of this writing is, well, how do they come across on stage?
Yeah.
That's what counts.
You must have developed. Now, I wonder, did you have this innately, or have you developed this amazing skill of compartmentalization? Were you always good at that, or have you had to develop
I
that?
think all journalists have an ability to do it. You kind of
Okay.
have to. And it's
Okay.
not always people based, it's just situation based. I mean, think about the people who covered the Pulse massacre. Well, even we all in the newsroom in
Oh.
some way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You didn't cry till you went home. Let's put it that way. When you're at work,
Yeah.
that went into a little box, and and you did your job. So I think most people go into journalism have an ability of some level to do that, and then it does get easier and better over time, which a psychologist might tell you is actually not a good thing.
Right. You're like, those walls have gotten thicker.
Listen, we're
Create
not
this sort of
therapy.
like unfeeling cyborg version of yourself, just typing words and talking to people and not really thinking about what any of it means. But I mean, you all know, and I've interviewed some of you, I believe, in situations like
Mhm.
this, when you write an obituary. One of the hardest, it's one of the most basic news operations there is. You just talk to
Yeah.
somebody about someone who has died, you get the basic facts, outline of their life, which even that is sometimes kind of sad, because you feel like, why am I reducing a person to like their birthday and their college degree and
Yeah.
their last job?
Yeah.
Like that.
Mm.
But you just have to you just have to turn it off, do it. I mean, it's your job. Yeah, but social media, it's such a double-edged sword. I mean, I find out things on social media that I wouldn't otherwise know, but at the
Yeah,
same
you do.
time, you're not as removed as journalists once were. I mean, I feel like there was a time when a theater critic was like anonymous. No,
Yeah.
they just came and went and sat in the dark, and
Nobody
Nobody
knew
knew
that they
who-
were
yep.
there.
right. And and we have to. I mean, someone has asked me, well, why do you even post your stuff on Facebook? Well, because it's the way people find it. I mean, we
Yeah.
kind of
That's
be
right.
engaged on Facebook these days, and especially in a community like the arts community, which is sort of close knit and
Oh,
chatty, and that's the connection. That's the
Yeah.
thread for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have a good therapist?
I have a amazing core group of friends who have nothing to do with the arts community. They're friends. They go to the theater, they go to
Good.
concerts, and we can talk about that stuff.
they're not making,
But they're not. Yeah, they don't know the players involved. They don't know. And my family is amazing. My brother actually, who lives in California, has nothing to do with Central Florida, actually knows some of, shall we say, the frequent commenters on my Facebook post.
Uh-huh.
Be like, I can't believe what someone said about it. Right? You're wonderful. I have a support system.
Good. Good.
I'm so- So, like
real quick, that your ability to compartmentalize and to sort of remove this also just further underscores how much we are not journalists on this.
Yes.
podcast. 3 of us are not journalists because we have a lot of hot takes and are very passionate and will often,
Lot of
just
hot-
people who've been convicted of murder, like we feel like that we can say everything we feel about them and just
Ashley,
You've been convicted.
so speaking of like the polarizing, the opinion versus let's breach the
Are we
topic.
getting-
Let's get if you guys are
Let's
okay.
crack into it.
Are
Let's
we
go.
all right to let's move into
We'll just
it?
say, Matt, we recorded this episode just super recently, and Olivia was our wonderful host on this episode. So Olivia is the keeper of. I'll say
Yes.
you've done the deep dive for this. So Olivia is probably the most informed of our group on
Yes.
the facts, and Jen and I provided some delightful color commentary.
Delightful, colorful commentary. Yeah.
So, this was for baby hair.
Yeah, and also it kind of, Matt, was because I was working next door to Oma at the rep when it was all going down, and I got to see the FBI trucks. So I felt very passionately about this
Very
situation. but-
immediately connected to the.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you just to say that the day of the trucks, here's your little behind the scenes glimpse of my life. I had reviewed the night before. So I'd worked very late because I usually write when I come home. So I worked till like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was asleep when.
Oh,
Talk about when do you sleep? I was asleep at that moment. And
When the
I-
FBI comes.
I have this message from the news editor that's like, the FBI is raiding Orlando Museum of Art. Where are you? And I was kind of like, really? This is still a dream, right? Because this can't be real.
there's no way this is real.
no way.
Oh my
And
god.
this is why you need to not have 3 different jobs. Like, well, I would have been there if.
Oh,
It was fine. Breaking
man.
news team responded because it was breaking news, and that
Yeah.
was their job, and now I was able to wake up, bitch. And it was
Where
no.
are
I
you?
know, it's just, I mean, the surrealness of that moment,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
not being like, what? This is
Wait,
real
what?
text? What?
Little Orlando? What the heck?
was this your first FBI investigation?
Oh, it has to be. Surely I would remember. Sure what? Yeah.
I'm sure I would have remembered.
Any other criminal investigations? Like his true crime coming to your beat?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a
That's a
great
great question.
Good question. I don't. Well, yes. I mean, I have dealt with police agencies
Okay.
and
Oh,
actual
okay.
police reports on
Okay.
things.
Okay.
And
Oh.
looked into things. Some of them did not really pan out because charges were dropped or
Sure.
the case was so, how would I put that? The case was so negligible or did not have enough of a community effect to like.
It wasn't a story.
It wasn't really a story
It wasn't a
that
story.
especially a story that I would write. Like
Okay.
it didn't make any sense. So I mean, I've dealt with police agencies for sure,
FBI. This was your
but not
first.
the FBI.
But not.
but not federal.
It's not on a federal national
So, I mean, take us through. We went through the whole
Olivia took us the thing. We just
couple episodes.
listened.
Yeah, I was. We kind of went through the whole thing. But from your perspective, can you maybe share with us when did maybe in your reporting, when did it kind of start with, wait, there might be something up here? Because I know it was before the raid. Before the raid, there was the suspicion, and there was the and there was the FedEx label, which favorite piece of this whole thing. You can't.
Now Ashley was so excited.
The graphic designers solved it. That's right. Graphic design matters. Your font. Before that, there was like the whiff of these might not be real. So when did it come to? Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
I was also going to say, even with regards to, and just speaking to some of the, I'll say maybe like morality or objective truth at the museum, especially if there was that Pollock that was
Pollock
lectured on, that then sort of whoopsie daisy, because like there was some, I'll say
the provenance.
The provenance of the Pollock was also like a little bit sus, and that shortly before this. So it's like, was there any whiff ahead of this? When did the troubles start, Matt?
When did and just in case anyone's listening to this that didn't listen, what we're talking about, let me just give a quick.
Good call.
What we're talking about is if you haven't been subscribing and downloading us every other week, first of all, where have you been? No, but
previous to this,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we did an episode called "The Grift of DeGroft." I'm very proud of that.
Yes, Olivia.
Name, Matt. If you ever need a headline writer,
nailed it.
But
Without an editorial headline, not a.
Yeah.
That's right.
To be clear.
That's right. But we did an episode talking about scandal for painting collection of Basquiat's that were revealed at Orlando Museum of Art 2020. That was supposed to be like never before seen. It was called Heroes and Monsters. And there were questions around the background of these paintings before the exhibit opened. And about a week before the exhibit closed, the FBI came and raided for talking about, and Matt, the guy, the reporter throughout this. So when Ashley says, when did the troubles start? If you're not familiar with this, first of all, give it a Goog. You can find all of Matt's articles, as well as national articles.
If you want to listen, Olivia did a great job like breaking it down for us, because this
was a national story.
It became one, yeah.
Went well beyond even Central Florida arts and culture. This was because, again, like Olivia said, these quote undiscovered masterpieces, to have a trove of art from an art of that caliber, and to have like that many, it's like, oh wow, like this would have been a coup for anyone.
Right.
And it was allegedly, or at least initially was presented as a coup for Orlando Museum of Art to even get these,
to get them,
these. Yeah.
Place. So yeah.
Or
yeah.
that.
So Matt. So how did it start, Matt? When did the trouble in River City become evident?
Well,
adding it to our playlist.
Let me put it this way. I have gone back, of course, and read my first article on that exhibit over and over. Because, of course, I feel some sort of sense of, oh my gosh, I should have known. I should have been able to, I should have been not just reported what they said at face value. Part of me is like, what research would I actually have done on that? Like, I'm not a visual art critic at all. Like, all my criticism is directed at the performing arts.
Right.
I only cover visual art as news and columnist. So,
right.
So I was like, I don't have the background to, and really, how would anyone just walking up the street and be like, well, they're obviously fake? I mean,
of course.
So the first story I wrote about it was not a news story at all. It was one of my columns for that week. And it was just like, here's something interesting that's open. And there was a little to explain to people maybe a little who Basquiat was and why his art is significant. And here's, they've never, these are recently found. Because you do find recently, recent art.
Oh, it happens. It does happen.
Without any insider knowledge on my part, I didn't really have any reason to be super suspicious. You're right. The Pollock thing was weird, but at the same time, it's almost like, well, then they've had their blip for the year. You know what I mean? You wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Now it's going to double down with something else.
Right.
Just to remind, there was a Pollock, a talk on a Pollock, and there was the controversy.
Well, there's
about
just
that.
still doubt about its provenance as well. I mean, people aren't 100% sure. Here's an important fact. This happens in the art world all the time. It just doesn't happen here, so you don't pay any attention. And it usually happens without this much fanfare.
Sure.
Okay.
Like people are
Okay.
constantly reevaluating. And sometimes people who have hung, museums that have hung paintings for decades suddenly do some new forensic testing or something, and we're like, oh, this isn't from the time period we thought at all. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
wrote this first article, and then a couple of weeks later, a freelance writer who writes for the New York Times published an article that had lots of people in New York and South Florida, the Miami art scene, saying, we're very skeptical of this. We don't think that it's real. And
Huh.
that reporter is enmeshed in the art world, has covered art, it knows about art, galleries, has all these contacts. It makes sense that he would have a better track on that.
Okay.
I thought the story was, I took it to my editors immediately and said, look what the New York Times is reporting. But that story relied entirely on off-the-record anonymous sources. Like,
No, I know from working with you over the years, you don't like that.
the Sentinel has a
no.
very,
Yeah.
I mean, it has a
Yeah.
matter of life and death.
Or neither.
Until the FBI came, but yes.
Because when you read that story, you could read it as, well, they wanted to they wanted to stir something up, so they found some people who aren't even sure enough of their convictions to give their names in their galleries to just
Right.
Right.
sure enough of their convictions to give their name. This from Facebook, people write,
Yeah, anonymous.
All the time.
When you're hidden, you can do anything. Yeah.
They create fake accounts and say things and disappear. Yeah, totally.
But I thought, but you know what? It's in the New York Times, which is a
Yeah.
old newspaper. I thought it's in the New York Times, which is noticed. So I wrote an article that has cast doubt
Okay.
on this exhibit, and I talked to some local experts and people here about it, and the overwhelming feeling here at the time was, well, that's because Miami and New York experts look down on Orlando. People
Right.
would have anything of value here because they think we're just like a Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
theme park.
How
when we're
dare
here.
we? Yeah, sure.
You're right. I believe I read during this time that I think Aaron made the comment that they're jealous and they don't think something like this should be happening in Orlando. That was kind of how he
Haters.
But it was,
They're
yeah, I mean, it really was a consensus among. I spoke to 4 or 5 different local people, and that was kind of the consensus.
Well, because sadly, we're kind of used to it. People
Well-
throw that our way
Right.
more than
all the time.
more than I would like. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
trickles down in lots of different ways. The way
Mhm.
people look down on the work being done in theme parks is, somehow
Right.
less than working on a stage in a standalone theater, or
Right,
Right.
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 And I'm sure there's also a level of just, unrelated to arts altogether, but just like, the Florida man of it all. It's
Yeah.
like, well, Florida. Like, it's like, what you doing down there, Florida?
We're not all Florida man.
Right. So that was kind of the first sense that, well, maybe something is weird about this.
Yeah.
But it still
I
wasn't enough to, there wasn't
Yeah.
anything concrete really to hang anything
Right.
on. Honestly, I think from then it was just, talking about it. I, would try to bring it up with other art leaders. Another thing is, most people in the arts, and this may be true of any profession, are very cautious about saying anything about another organization. Who are the people who are really the experts on art in this town? They all work for other art museums, other art
Right.
galleries, and they just want to
Right.
be on the record bad mouthing.
Of course. Yep.
They're just, that would just be their speculation. And I will say there were people who said, well, there could be something to that. There really could be,
All
because it's such an unusual find and story.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nobody had any sort of concrete evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
And what we know
And-
now, what we didn't know then is
Yeah.
the FBI actually did have some evidence. They had interviewed
Yes.
Right.
the man who allegedly had the paintings in his storage locker before he died. They had, they were
that.
working on the man in California who later admitted that he had forged some of them. They were gathering evidence.
They were.
Right.
And
I can.
that's one of my favorite pieces also of this. All of this, we thought it was being revealed as it was happening. And the FBI was like, we've been looking at this since 2012. And we were like, what? They were just waiting. The FBI was waiting because nothing illegal had been done yet.
Right.
and it wasn't till it got here and it was presented as authenticated, then they could move on it. And I just loved that they were sitting in the wings waiting for like 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow
And
burn.
they had to
Slow
give them enough rope to hang themselves with, because you can paint anything you want, or you can make any type of art you want, and you can even copy one for one like famous art. But
Yeah,
the
people do
second-
it all the time. They sit in
All the
galleries
time.
to improve their
Yeah.
technique.
And that is not illegal. But the second you sign it and you try to pass it off as a work from the artist and are then profiting from it, that is when you have committed a crime.
It should be said that as far as we know, no one has made money off them yet.
Oh,
The whole FBI's case is based on the idea they were showing them in a museum in order to gain credibility for them
Right.
to eventually
Right.
make money on them. But
Yeah.
no,
right,
one
because
has,
they were
no one has been charged with doing
doing that
off
because
them
they were heading to Italy after,
They
right?
were heading to
Well, and this is an interesting thing too.
okay.
So yes, I found out that they were going to close the exhibit early, which
Oh,
interesting red flag. In my reporting,
Mhm.
my sources, I found this out, and I thought, well, this exhibit is, all that, and it's, why would they close it early?
right.
Aha.
And then someone said, because there's interest from a gallery in Italy to show it. This is one of those, I don't know, if you get the right person on the right day or something,
Uh-huh.
but the museum actually confirmed that. I asked them,
Huh.
they said, oh yes,
Wow.
it's going to go to Italy, and I published it. Then
Mhm.
days later, before it could go, the FBI came in and grabbed them for themselves. So
What,
really
Matt?
possibly draw a conclusion there. It was sort of interesting timing the way that
Yeah.
um,
My
That they had planned to at that point, leave the country, which then
Right.
becomes a little trickier to
Right.
seize them.
It's
Yeah,
like we
no.
gotta go now.
but I mean, it was the whole timing of it, and I'm not trying to take credit for an FBI raid. I'm sure they planned.
Well, do it.
Right.
listen.
If you were investigating that art, you would have read that story.
Yeah,
Surely
of
reading
course.
anything anyone wrote about it for investigation.
Yeah.
I think they had a bat phone, and they were like, Matt Palm has just confirmed that it's closing early. We got to go in now,
Go,
boys.
go.
It wouldn't
Great.
surprise
So this
me.
means I'm on some FBI list somewhere else.
That's all right. Join us.
That obviously hell broke loose.
Yeah.
Like, what's the FBI? What's
Yeah.
involved? And then more and more information started just rolling out. Like,
Man.
the FBI, mostly about the FBI's investigation
Investigation.
and
Yeah.
and what they had been looking into and all the crazy details. Now, it was crazy on my end too, because as we've established, I do not have contacts at the FBI. I've never had.
To be clear.
Contrary to popular belief.
Whereas one imagines the New York Times does have contacts with the
Yeah.
FBI. I also not usually feel like the New York Times is interested in in a story, a series of articles I am writing on. It was strange that it kind of felt like at times a competition between the New York Times and us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we had, of course, also different motivations.
Sure.
The New York Times
Okay.
is a national newspaper. This is just sort of a national scandal story to them. I cover the impact of local arts on Central Florida.
Right.
So I had a lot more interest from our local perspective of what does this mean for the museum? Does the museum
Right.
does this endanger the museum?
Yeah.
Could, at the
Right.
time, almost
Yeah.
100-year-old museum be forced to close out of this? I mean,
Well, and we're
Yeah.
coming right out of COVID too, so everybody
That's
was
right.
already like
right,
not
right,
doing so
everybody
great.
was on the ropes.
Yeah.
So, my reporting was always sort of through a different lens than the New York Times. That's why the Orlando Sentinel is a local newspaper for Central Florida and Orlando.
Right.
The New York Times is
Yeah.
trying to give a national kind of perspective. So I would touch where some
Right.
of the national implications were, but it just wasn't, it was so much more concerning to us here what's going to happen to the
Right.
museum. And
Yeah.
of course, the way the museum handled it, the aftermath, which was part of, well, what are you helping your long-term future by the way you're going about this, or are you
Yeah.
hurting your long-term future
Yeah.
by the way
That's
you're
right.
about this? And I could get experts and other people in the arts to comment on that, and even like PR professionals, and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
should they be doing? What
Doing.
but as come out, I mean, it was chaos there, as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
It was I
Oh.
believe, their first time dealing with the FBI. So
I want to talk about that too, Matt, what you were saying about just now about the aftermath, where it's like, okay, the was it fraud or possible fraud has been exposed and the FBI has like seized the work and now the museum is having to respond. Did you find that like difficult to get people to then speak on the record as far as like, yeah, this is what's going on, even just from a factual standpoint? Or did I'll say the doubling down of like, no, we're the victims, we've done nothing wrong, like did that start right away? Did that seem unified, or was it like, what did that exercise look like? Because I know some people or some organizations, when faced with an issue like this, they will bring in like a crisis PR person, and there's a very, I'll say, like well crafted and rehearsed, good, bad, right, or wrong. It's like, this is our statement. And then other times it's chaos and different people will tell you different things, or there's not really like unified voice. Like, did that
Right.
impact your reporting?
Yes. I mean, obviously, this is a lot more difficult than asking, a director of a play, like, hey, what's your play about? I mean, because what the bottom line was, and this is something that can be debated among PR professionals, among communication specialists, what is your tactic going to be? Just spill as much as you possibly and humanly can and try to, show the community every little thing you're doing? Or is it batten down the hatches and just ride it out and wait until later when maybe you have a moment to collect your thoughts and can give a more, concise statement or something? And I would say chose the latter. They did not want to really dive into what was going on. They did hire a crisis specialist. I have dealt with crisis specialists on other stories over the years. So that's tricky because because when you do that, it means it was a woman who was from out of town. So there was, no rapport. I mean, she was professional and civil, and so was I, but it wasn't the same as calling up someone you've talked to before.
Right.
Yep.
It just makes a difference in how you interact with people, obviously, if you know them or you don't. And so she very much stuck to a party line of, the museum has not been charged with any crime. So we are assisting the FBI in any way we can. And while we're assisting them, we're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And
my attorney has advised that I do not speak on this further, is like all it's saying.
So
Yeah.
what would end up happening is, I ended up writing a series of stories because there were some things that were public records. The FBI's affidavit of what they were doing,
Right.
Yeah.
Due process. They had to explain why they were doing this. So I could get stuff like that. Then I could ask specific questions about their statement and the museum wouldn't answer. But, in some cases, it gets to the point where the more you put in the paper, the museum would not explain that. Or if the museum declined to, say what this was, it almost might backfire against an institution.
Yeah.
Really,
Because it's like,
more-
why are you barricading so hard if you really didn't do anything wrong? That's what it makes everybody
Right.
think.
And I'm not even saying that's the case. I'm just saying that it starts to leave
Yeah.
with people after a while.
That's
And
right.
so
That's right.
eventually the museum got a little more communicative, I would say, over time. I think, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think there is something. They did see that I was trying to be fair and, I was doing my job. I was trying to be unbiased, and this
Right.
is what says, this is what, and I said to them at every interview when they give me their little 2-cent statement, I will print, I will, we got to go through editing, but I will report to the best of my ability whatever message you want to give, but you have to give me a message.
Right.
And
You
if-
have to give me
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
right. And that, I think eventually they started my reporting. They felt confident enough they would open up a little bit. Went on into the lawsuits era when
Mm.
I have a lawsuit against Aaron DeGroft, the director who had
That's
sent
right.
all this going. Aaron DeGroft countersued. That
Yeah.
opens up a whole bunch of new stories because then you have court documents. And so even
Right.
if nobody will talk to you, we know what their positions are because they have to lay them out in their lawsuit.
Right.
And that's right. And I could read those documents and
Yeah.
file that stuff. And so that was interesting from, a journalism. People think journalism is so like we're all, running around. That was interesting for me because that kind of maybe swung the balance of reporting back toward me from like the New York Times, for example.
Ah,
I didn't have
okay.
FBI connections, but I was monitoring the Orange County Court website. The New
Aha.
York
Uh-huh.
Times paying any attention to that.
Yep.
Right.
And then in the midst of all that, we also had the whole financial aspect of the museum, which was getting more and more in financial trouble. And so that was interesting from, a journalism. I mean, people think journalism is so like we're all, running around. That was interesting for me because that kind of maybe swung the balance of reporting back toward me from like the New York Times, for example.
Oh,
I didn't have
okay.
FBI connections, but I was monitoring the Orange County Court website. The New
Aha.
York Times paying any attention to that.
Yep.
Right.
And then in the midst of all that, we also had the whole financial aspect of the museum, which was getting more and more in financial trouble. Like donors were hesitant to donate.
Yeah, of
Were
course.
hesitant to associate. And just as you said, there was still like the post-COVID issue.
Yeah.
Grants were down, attendance was down. There was just a lot going on. And this crisis management team, the lawyers that they had to hire, this was all draining.
Right.
Yeah. The minimal resources they had
already, yeah.
was being sucked up by this non-art activity, right? Like
Right.
it was going to something that has nothing to do with their
Art,
goal and their
yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
Their mission, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring people to the museum, but they need one because
Right. So that became, in some ways, I think the museum was more hesitant to talk about that than they were the actual bus eventually. Because
Interesting.
they were trying to get people back. They wanted to seem like a hopeful and optimistic.
yeah.
And it's hard to do that when you have to admit, well, we're also, bleeding money.
Yeah.
Eventually they did. I mean, eventually they kind of had to. Enough people knew that there was financial trouble, that that was, you couldn't contain that anymore. And interestingly, once they did, that was kind of a turning point. You may remember the board of directors switched leadership. The leader of the board actually apologized to the community.
Yes.
In a story that I think ran on the front page of the paper.
That was big.
They admitted that they came very close to shutting their doors, and they were really scrambling on how to reallocate their resources, and the community sort of started to rally back around them. And now they're going strong and doing great. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
later. But the reporting on that, all for the reasons I've already sort of elaborated. I mean, it was difficult. There were so many factors of trying to. I mean, even the factors of reading FBI and court documents.
Oh my God.
They're not always-
Redacted.
they're not always
Redacted.
written, and they're not always written in like the most like conducive way.
Yeah. Not layman's terms.
Right.
Yeah.
And with lawsuits, you have to be very careful. I mean, some of my stories had to be run through the Sentinel's legal team.
Sure. Yeah.
Look,
Oh yeah.
laws
Sure.
and this meet the criteria of fairness in journalism, or journalistic privilege. Of can we say this? But it's also a new experience. I haven't written a lot of stories that had to go through
Yeah.
journalism lawyers.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
It's like your review of Oklahoma doesn't get run through the legal department.
Douglas Flat. But was the Dream Ballet part of it? That's the important question.
That was an earlier episode.
Is there a pro current of Oklahoma Dream Ballet?
No, I think collectively this is unnecessary and nobody misses it. It's just a recap of the first act that you already saw and no one's
Yeah, we get it.
So I'm unlike your day today, this is really your first time being embroiled with like legal, like reading court documents. Like this was
That's crazy.
alas, this is not to betray of the severity of what happened, but was there any part of you at any point where you're like, this is interesting because this is so different just from like
Oh, it was interesting. I mean, I sit here and talk about, it's good for actors to try new roles. It stretches their brain.
I mean, it
This was
does.
all, deciphering court documents and trying to write a story that takes a 200-page lawsuit and distills it into like 24
Man.
inches of type of what's most important and what statements are the most telling about what the museum thinks. It really was challenging a different part of my brain. And a lot of it, when you deal with police and the law and libel, and I mean, this was going back to like core stuff you learn in journalism school. I mean, this was like, I am trained to do all this. I just haven't had to do it very often.
Right. Yeah.
And it was interesting to sort of have to refresh my brain and also think about my colleagues. And my colleagues who cover crime and justice, this is like their world, and they were helpful. I would send them questions. Does this mean this on a court docket? Or, they were like so happy to help. But it was so interesting to me that this was their world. And like,
Yeah.
just live in this.
They were like, "Welcome to the club, man."
I believe one of them actually once said to me when I said, "I'm so sorry if I sound stupid," and we are like, "Hey, listen, I wouldn't know like how to look at the ballet. Never mind, right?"
Yes.
Right. That's right.
So I mean, it was interesting. There was one. I'll tell you one crazy behind the scenes story. We were trying to get a story up. We were working on a story about the museum's finances, and I can't remember. I'm trying to remember how we subscribed to the New York Times news service.
Sure.
So it publishes stories from the New York Times, national stories. And I think we saw, even though my story was like 99% done, we saw that the New York Times was going to write something or publish something new about the museum. And it was basically the story that I was 99% done with. They were obviously also writing the same story. Yeah.
Scoop. Yeah.
And so my boss, the editor, called me and said, "Let's get this story in the paper tomorrow so we can at least, if not scoop the New York Times, we'll tie them." I mean, it was just like in its final editing stage, But in the meantime, I was covering, it was during the winter, what used to be called the Winter Mini Fringe. Now it's called
Yes. I was
wow.
going to say, was it it had to be something fringe related.
It was in January. And I was at Winter Mini Fringe, I was at Art Space downtown, and they hold that festival. And I already was double working that night. I was going to run downtown between shows the way I'd done the Fringe schedule to run over to the Kia Center because it was the world premiere of the new animal-free Ringling Brothers Circus. Circus, which again comes from Feld Entertainment, Florida. We were the first people to see it. Of course, taking animals out of the circus, a big news story.
Big deal,
No,
yeah.
It worked. So I somehow in one night managed to I saw like 2 Fringe shows. I went to the circus. I wrote a circus review. And the people at Orlando Fringe were very kind, and I sent them, "Listen, I have a breaking news story. I can't really even talk about what it is, but can I use your office space?"
Oh.
While I was waiting for my the last late Fringe show, I went into like an office at Fringe Art Space and finished the music. We got the museum story done, then online. So there's 3 hats all like going at the same time.
Oh my God, that's insane.
And that is the thing where I would sit and think, when did my job become this? Like racing against do we have the FBI facts right? And I mean, there were definite moments that made it very different than my usual chaos.
Yeah.
Wow.
And chaos, but this was different chaos.
I love knowing that in the midst of it, you were literally going to the circus.
Literally.
I could never drive
Literally.
laughing semi-hysterically in my car, thinking that expression, "Not my monkey, not my circus." Not my monkey, it's not my monkey. And I was like, "Oh my God, but this is my circus and my monkey."
This is it.
Oh, what a
So
circus.
appropriate.
What a show.
Matt, I want to ask you something. You've kind of hinted at it, but I'm going to dig down and be a reporter for a second.
Oh.
A reporter with no morals. What?
Great.
Yeah,
No
no.
integrity.
You mentioned no integrity. That's it. I do.
You have morals, Olivia.
I do have morals, just no integrity.
Integrity is not a standard to which you are being held, Olivia. That is, you are not. Oh.
But you mentioned to me how you felt a sense of not just deep responsibility to the community, but you also felt kind of a little bit of a sense of guilt. I'm paraphrasing what you said, but that like what you wrote could end up being like helping to close this, long-standing institution in Orlando. What is that? What's that responsibility? But you are beholden to your integrity. I don't know what that's like, but you're beholden to this integrity. How did you kind of navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think people have a perception that journalists are like gleeful when something bad happens or something. Like, oh, these people, and we're going to take that place down. And really, it's not like that. I would say for all the colleagues I know.
Okay.
Not like that. I mean, you're gleeful when you feel like you are shining a light on a problem, but most journalists, we get into journalism because we hope to help. I mean, you get into journalism to be informed and to make good decisions and to know what's happening so they can live their lives accordingly and do the best they can. So yeah, I mean, the more I dug into this museum thing, I thought every time I write a story about this, that makes the museum does not cast them in the best light. That could be more sponsors or donors who pull out, or to back
Yeah.
up in everyone's mind. But ultimately, and this is something that theater professionals need to remember as well, I'm not writing these articles for the art museum. I'm not writing art reviews for the actors or the director or the theater. I'm writing for the general public, and they are the ones who I work for. They are the ones who I'm serving.
The community as a
The
whole.
community at large,
Yeah.
who needs to know these things
Yeah.
and then needs to act accordingly. Because ultimately, even when it's a sad situation like what was going on at the museum, you still kind of hope, well, then maybe this will spur some sort of change for the better.
Right.
It's a
Right.
lot more
Right.
politics. And with the museum, we interviewed some people who had been volunteers who were trying to put pressure in different ways. And it's always hard to gauge how much is that successful when there's like a change.org petition. We often scoff at them and say, well, no one's going to bring back your canceled TV show if you do a petition like that. But in
Right.
a case like this, where it's more just like public pressure and perception, if an institution sees 5,000 people have signed a petition saying, we want this and this, a
Yeah.
nonprofit beholden to these people, well, that might influence their decision
Yeah.
making. It might make some sort
So
of
true. Yeah.
So, there were attempts to do that. And then those stories, I would feel like, well, maybe this is helping, maybe this is
Yeah.
pushing everyone toward, being more transparent or being more responsive to the community. Or at the end of the day, as you say, you just compartmentalize and say, well, it was true and fair and balanced. And at the end of the day, that's the best I can do. And now it's
Right.
Yeah.
world to like figure out what to do next.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
also like to the part of like you're saying like you want the organization itself to succeed, and sometimes that means pointing at in this case wrongdoing, but potential like just like errors of judgment or like bad business practices.
Right.
That sometimes it's like you're not saying, oh, this organization should no longer exist and the work they're doing shouldn't exist, but maybe like a person or like a leader is like
Yeah.
bad decision, or it's like,
Yeah.
well, this team is moving in a direction that is not healthy for the organization, and that there is opportunity to turn the ship around, or
Right.
to say, okay, we're doing this and it's not working, we'll stop that, or yeah, we made a mistake, sorry about that, let's correct and move forward. But at no point is the goal to say like, oh, the organization should fall. It's like, no, but maybe, I don't know, and like stuff like this has happened before. Maybe, this one staff member who was like, accused of like terrible misconduct, maybe they should be removed because like they're hurting the organization, like things like that, to preserve the whole, but to still like say, I have to report on, the problem because you do want it to exist going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and it's the same. In some ways, this is gonna be a strange parallel, but like a story like that is like writing a theater review.
Sure.
You're not saying the show should be closed or fail or don't go. You're saying, there may be room for improvement, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Or there may have been, here's some things to think about that might have elevated the show. And in my case, when you're a critic for a long time, a theater's productions, or an orchestra's concerts or a ballet's productions, you're sort of competing against yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
a critic wants the
Yeah.
bar
Yeah.
constantly moving up a little higher, especially in our community, which
Yeah.
has grown so much over the 16 years I've been doing this. And so you're kind of nudging theaters too. And so I feel like it's part of my job to point out if an organization starts backsliding and the quality feels like it's
Yeah.
going from where I've seen it be in the
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, as an artist, that you shouldn't be competing with anybody else. You should be competing with yourself to make yourself better all the time. So yes, give us a review. Tell me what I can do better.
way.
Yeah.
Tell me how it can be better. Well, and I think you're absolutely right. And is, in theory, in a perfect world, and certainly setting aside things like crimes, wanting to get, I'll say, like constructive feedback on just like how can this be a better experience for our audiences? Like, how can the show be better? How can the audience experience? Like something as simple as like, hey, this is my third time at this theater. It's really hot every time. Like,
Yeah.
expensive to fix your AC, but for the love of God, like
Right.
people aren't going to want to come back if they're like miserable, sweaty mess in your theater every time. Just
Yeah.
like think of that, but to say that you want to keep moving forward and you want to keep improving not just the product but the experience, and then just making that like just a great awesome thing for again the community at large, not just like
Right.
all the actors were happy with the wonderful things I said about them, but the audience didn't have a good time.
Right.
That's not helpful.
Right.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
there
and
for the audience.
writing reviews is a different kind of integrity than news integrity. I mean, news integrity is being fair and equitable and not letting your opinion color how you're presenting the facts to
Right.
your readers. But integrity in a review is you can't pander to the actors or the theater. You have to you're on the audience's side, and you
Right.
have to reflect your legitimate opinion. And there are times where I've loved things that people have been like, "Oh my God, well, you're nuts. We hated that." And so no, I actually really did enjoy that.
I
That's,
enjoyed it.
and sometimes I've thought, "Oh God, I'm trying to think of a show that won't get me or anyone in trouble." But like, something like fluffy, like Mamma Mia. And I'm like,
Sure.
this was such a great, am I really going to be like, this was a fabulous production of Mamma Mia? But here's there's nothing wrong with fluff if it's done like
Nothing
great.
wrong.
I was just circuiting it this week with somebody, and I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going tonight, I think, to see the new Jurassic Park movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like, well, it's not, and they were sort of, and I was like, it's not Citizen Kane.
Right.
It's a popcorn movie.
thank you.
It's an assignment. I just want to see the dinosaur. It's just a good time. It's a
Yes.
popcorn movie.
Right.
I don't need it to
People
the problems
See
of the
Jonathan
world.
Bailey and his slutty little glasses.
They
They
Hey,
take
It. That's all.
people take things way too seriously. I agree, Ashley.
Let
Like,
it be entertaining on its face. That's all I need.
yes, it's
Fine.
fine.
you know,
It's almost like the, what do you call it? It's like the backseat driver of people
Ugh.
giving notes about specific performers. And I'm like, have you been on the Broadway? Like,
right.
stop. Like, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, they didn't call you Chad. Like, you weren't.
Chad, man, that Chad is such an asshole. He's everywhere.
I don't know. It's like, well, it's not your job. Yeah, let people enjoy things, I
Right,
guess.
people
Let
enjoy things.
people enjoy
It's like,
things.
it's fine. Yeah.
I will say I've gotten a couple. Sometimes you see a review dismissed by someone as saying, "Well, the critic just didn't get it."
That
And I get that, yeah. And I have different reactions to that. I can
Okay.
remember one time. I shouldn't admit this because it makes me sound a little crazy. Like I would stand up, so of course it's a Facebook comment, and I remember standing up and sort of pacing around my living room, saying, muttering out loud, "Well, yeah, I got it. I didn't like it."
Yes,
I didn't think it worked.
Oh, I got it.
just because you think
Oh,
it's
I got
art
it.
doesn't mean I think it's art. It's my blank wall with a post-it on it. Not art to me.
some people think they are so highly evolved and so much further beyond that if they get any criticism, it's because you are too low IQ
Yeah,
to
to
understand
understand
what
what I
they're
was
trying to
trying
do.
to
But
do.
what right to that is, because the other reaction to when someone says, "I didn't get it," is, well, I thought I got it, but let's say I didn't get it.
Sure.
If I didn't get it, isn't that a problem? Who makes art?
Yeah,
not to
right.
get it?
Yeah.
If part of your audience, including the critic, did not get it, then maybe there is room for improvement.
Maybe there's an issue.
That's
yeah.
right.
Part
And
of it is dismiss the review. Maybe it's a reason to pay attention to what the
pay attention.
said.
I would imagine that you probably work to leave who you are in certain ways at the door. Like you're coming in with a more general perspective of like what I mean is you're not coming in as, a white male representing the, I think you probably try to come in more blank slate, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like there's certain filters you can't undo. Of course, you are you. But I
That's
mean,
an interesting thing to say because there is an effort to do that, but how it usually has to play out in my rating,
Uh-huh.
and as you say, there are filters you can't undo.
Right.
you can't,
Land.
right.
You can't take back the lived
Is
experience. Yeah.
You have to.
Right.
I call it fessing up when I joke with my editor. I'm like, as well as trying to fess up, but I mean, it's more just admitting what my bias or my lens might be. Like,
Sure.
There you go.
Doubt, for example, which
Sure.
is the play about the priest accused of sexual
Yes.
abuse and,
Yes. Oh,
and
yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Right. I'm Catholic. So you might think, oh, he's not going to like a play, but it's like taking a real bullet strike at the Catholic Church. I
Right.
actually loved Doubt. I think it's a
I love
fantastic play from a theater point. But I do usually, if I have to review it, if it gets done, I try to work in somewhere that I am Catholic. So people are aware that that is part of what I am bringing to the table in this.
I love that.
I'm going to show and say, I think I've used this phrase, although it still gives me pause. If you are white, some of this might be difficult to watch. It has to do with, the pain of people of color or something.
Right.
Or,
Right.
you try to remind people that, I'm just sort of semi-joking about not getting it. Things in art are going to land differently with different people because of their experiences. That's what makes it art and not fact. I mean, it's art because you respond to it based on your
feel
own
something,
life. It's just, yes, you come in with things that you can't undo.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
can't
You can't undo.
you can compartmentalize to a point.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily
Yeah.
turn it all off.
Seth, are you
Right.
telling us that you were a human person with
I know it is shocking and hard
Everyone,
to
you heard it here first. You heard it here first.
I love how you said that though, because I think what you're saying is you come in as objectively as you can. However, you acknowledge that you're not a blank slate. Like
Yeah,
you have to
that you're
acknowledge the things
human.
happening. And
you have to,
because
you have to, it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you can put off your plate, you try not to. The things that are just, attached to your plate, you have to acknowledge. The audience, your readers know what's fair.
Yeah.
I will tell you, sometimes there are things where, I've one pet peeve that developed over the years.
Tell us.
Pet peeve, but it means something that sort of, can trigger me.
people didn't send the photos?
No, not
yes.
a show, and not a show that like Doubt that deals with sexual abuse by priests, but in like any sort of comedy where there's a throwaway joke about sexual abuse in the church, especially the Catholic Church.
Sure.
Oh,
I don't care. I don't like that. I think it's too serious for throwaway jokes in the most cases, and I think it's become tired and lazy. It's heard too many of them. I don't think that's because I'm Catholic. I think it's because I go to a lot of theater, and it's like find something else to joke.
Here it is again.
Joke
It's
about.
time.
Yes.
Time for the joke.
Yes. If you tell a joke about rape, it'll put me
Oh.
in. That's one of my things.
Mm-mm.
I one time lambasted a fringe artist who rated their show family friendly and then had a joke about rape in it.
No.
What?
whoa.
Yes, I was furious. Yeah,
Absolutely not.
and
No,
I
no.
don't have any personal experience with rape, but there's some things that I'm like,
Well, I feel like that should probably, if there is a list, I was like, things just like, don't make jokes about this. It's never going to go well. I can't
Right.
think
Yeah.
of what I've ever heard where I was like, that was good.
right. And maybe if it was a really fantastic joke, I would change my mind and say, okay, that
Yeah.
worked. It was very dark.
Comedians,
Funny.
bring it. Like, let's see if you can
Right.
actually do it. But I don't think you
How
can.
your joke about assault is. It's like, yeah, probably, like you said, I think 9 times out of 10 too, it's just lazy. Like, it's just bad.
Right.
Right.
You could have done anything.
Yes.
But just skip this all together. But you're like, we're going to
Right.
be very witty.
Very blue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm giving you example with can just be rewriting their scripts and take those things out if they wanted to.
People
Right.
Right here, folks. Yeah.
Don't mention rape and don't make throwaway jokes of
Don't
child
do it. Because you're right. It's too serious.
Right.
Just don't. It's,
I would
it's
say-
a
Never work- it
serious
doesn't work.
problem.
Everybody laughs because they know it's supposed to be a joke, but everybody laughs that way of like,
They're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be here. Yeah.
Again, hot take. I feel like sometimes, and this is Orlando specific,
It's all right.
why as a group do we feel compelled to stand at the end of every
Oh my
You
god.
know my take on this.
Jen will not stand.
I will not stand unless
Not
you
every
deserve it. I
show.
don't care.
It's like
If you deserve it, I will
Orlando
stand.
is like
Mm.
Orlando's like, you made it to the last line. Standing ovation.
Yeah.
No.
It's Orlando though. I mean,
I think too, I have been a part of, or rather experienced, 3 in my life, what I call it true standing ovations, like
Mhm.
instantaneous, like
Rise to their feet.
were so incredible and it was so impactful in the audience. And it was, one of them was maybe 2 were like a mid-show standing ovation.
Yes.
I feel like is also a true test
Yeah.
of like, is this really, or is it just like, all right, we're getting up anyway to go to the car? It's just like,
Let's go get a head start.
yeah, but like I'm overwhelmed and I have instantaneously jumped to my feet as a group, like all, 800 of us or whatever. I feel like that is like a true standing ovation as opposed to like you're saying, Olivia, like it's over. We're leaving. I don't know.
You did
And
it.
I think because I remember like the first time I ever gave a standing ovation was probably the first time I ever saw a Broadway show. You know, sweet little like 13-year-old Jen going to New York for the first time. I'm in the big city.
She climbed down off her mountain
mountain in
and she
Maryland.
trekked into
Here
New
I
York.
go. And I mean, it was Beauty and the Beast, but it was like the original cast with Susan Egan and Terrence Mann, and my eyes were wide. It was beautiful. It was, and I was just like, and I jumped to my feet. So everything needs to feel like that for me.
You need that feeling.
I need that feeling. You have to like move me because it's literally my job to move other people. So move me.
Right. Would you like to know my standing ovation?
Yes, I'm ready.
Because I always wonder what if people notice, if people think. I mean, the longer I've done this job, the more people who know who I am as evident.
Sure.
Then they're
to
gonna
me at
look, and they're
intermission.
gonna be like,
Right.
That palm stand? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here is the policy. Because I debated it. Like, should I only stand for things that I would normally want to stand for?
Like organic.
But the weird thing is that if I sit and everybody else in the theater stands, is that making some sort of really dramatic, like over the top?
That's me. I want the drama.
My job is I am there to observe what's on the stage.
Right.
I have to see what's happening on the stage. What if an actor fell and broke their leg during the
Right.
I can see
and
it
I
as
couldn't
everyone
see it
else.
or something?
You're right.
So when the people in front of me stand, I stand with them.
Oh, there you go.
If the people in front of me
Fair.
don't
Okay.
stand and I can see the stage, I don't stand. It has nothing to do with my personal feelings.
Yeah.
I just do it so I can see what's happening.
Okay.
Stage.
It's very practical. I do
Practical.
that for the same reason, but because peer pressure. And I will do it if I have no intention of standing. Again, if people in front of me or I would say if any amount of people in the audience are also still seated, if it's like, okay, there's like, 5 people are standing over there, but then like, there's like 20 people I can see in front of me who are seated and I don't feel the need to stand, I will remain seated. But if it's everyone else is getting up, and also if it's like a small theater, it's like a black
Right.
box, there's like, 75 seats. I'm just like, okay, like,
Yeah.
I'll just, we'll do it. Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm the same way, Ashley. It's like I feel I will not stand unless it suddenly unless it suddenly looks like I'm making a statement by not standing, then I will stand. 'Cause
But
otherwise,
then I also fear, well, if I stand up just to see and then I write like a mid-link to negative review, then people look like a hypocrite. But I don't think
I gotta see.
people are not paying that much attention. I guess
Everybody
when
knows
you're
now.
on stage, you see me stand up or not stand up. Don't read anything into it at
Okay.
all.
okay.
Just you need to see. Yeah, this is the only thing that I am not a people pleaser about. I'm a people pleaser about everything.
So standing
But I
ovation.
won't do it.
That's what you put your proverbial
How dare
foot
you,
down
yes.
with the standing ovation.
And
Matt,
I want to be in a show again. I haven't been on stage in a hot minute, but I want to be in a show again just so you will come and see it and not stand.
And I don't have to stand either.
Yeah, make sure you're sitting right behind me. It'll be fine. I'll just start coming to the theater with you, Matt, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Brain system.
Matt, do people because you are a known entity now, you no longer can, unless you came in like a fedora and a cape and hid yourself. Everyone knows
The Phantom.
basically who you are.
Right.
That's right. Actually, that would be funny. But do people ask you at the shows? So what do you think?
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes at intermission, people will yell or shout down the aisle. Do you like it? Is it good? And I'm always like, yes. No, my stock answer is, well, you have to buy the paper to find out. That's what.
yeah.
That's very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just want to, because we've done a few PSAs here.
Another
for
one?
Matt and his.
PSA.
I want to do another one. Stop bitching about the paywall
Right?
on the Sentinel articles.
Bitching about the paywall. You are literally paying.
His salary. Like if you're gonna bitch because you don't want to work for free and
Right?
like doing your art shouldn't be volunteer. I agree.
I agree, yeah.
Obviously with that. He shouldn't be volunteering either. I'm so sick of people being like, well, I would have read it, but it was behind a paywall.
How
Yeah,
dare you.
motherfucker. It's behind a paywall because these people they went to school for their craft.
That's his art.
Critic writing is an art.
Yeah.
And you have to get paid for it.
And
like
how
just because
how much is the paywall, man? How much are we asking for?
Oh, it varies constantly, but there's almost always some sort of 99-cent
I was
deal
just gonna say it's like 99 cents.
a month.
It's-
Sometimes it's 99 cents for 6 months in a row.
That's when I got it.
On tier, and I think it's we have a $5 level, and we said you could either have our Patreon or you could have 4 Haas avocados.
4 Haas avocados or 3 Haas ladies.
Or 3 Haas ladies. Well, relative. But yeah.
Guac is extra, and so are we.
It's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive, just do
To
it.
be fair, I think there is a misconception that the paper just reeks in money, and it's all some and
Really?
advertising is making so much money. When people say that to me, I always say, when was the last time you read an online ad and actually it prompted you to do something?
Right.
Print advertising still works. Print advertising has
It does.
Yep.
and that's why we still publish the paper 7 days a week. It makes money off the print advertising.
Yeah. On Olivia's PSA, the other PSA, and I'll say it so Matt doesn't have to. Do not screenshot the article
Oh.
and then post the screenshots in your email, on your website, on your own social accounts to then break through the paywall. Do not do this. Don't do that.
Well, it's illegal.
Also that.
Yeah, so we're
And we know now Matt has connections with the FBI, so stop.
Now he does. Oh, stop it. He didn't before,
Now
but
he
he does
does,
now.
yeah.
I love it. Well, Matt, I just have to ask, because I know we've taken up so much of your time, but I just want to ask this maybe like a little question, like final lightning round. Was there anything, going back to the basket reporting, was there anything that you're like, well, now I know this. I didn't know this before, but now I know this just from this journey of reporting from,
Know something about myself, about the profession, about
just about whether it's about like from a journalism standpoint or from an art standpoint or just anything. Is there something where you're like, I never would have thought this had it not been for this wild ride?
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned about myself that I can do harder interviews than I usually have to do.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think in any job you have, there's always a little imposter syndrome,
Oh,
where you
yeah.
feel like, am I just like an idiot? But I mean, I felt like I was asking the right questions. I was holding my own with people who were much more connected and powerful and richer than I was, and who did not want to talk to me necessarily. So I that was sort of heartening to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do it. But I mean, in terms of the art world, I really did not know how much question that there is about provenance and legitimacy and history and
Across
all
the
this stuff
board.
just across
It
the
was
board.
insane when we. Yeah.
I learned this though every day. I'm not sure if this is specific to Basquiat. There are people in the world who are kind and do know I'm a human being. You'd be amazed how whenever I get, ripped on social media or something, there's always a few people who just send like, hey, saw what's going on. You're doing a swell job.
We love you.
Like, and it's not like the same people. It's like just people who take the time to say, hey, or sometimes I get a friendly message from someone and I think, oh, that's because they know this is not the best, my best social media day ever. But
Yeah.
it's a fascinating job. There are people who I think are probably jerks, and there are people who are very kind. That's the world.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that is the world.
But-
If you ever need
You're just a little more front and center.
If you ever
Yeah.
need a vocal like pick me up, just listen to one of our episodes because I'm pretty sure we say we love you, Matt Palm, in every single one.
a lot.
You can
really
put
do.
your name. I'm sure I've lost count of how many times we'll invoke.
We'll start a counter like on our website.
I really
Sure,
do think we
that's
need
less
Matt
about
Palm.
me, more about the fact there is not, it's not like there are 40 people covering arts and culture in Central
No, I
Shore,
know.
at least on a regular basis.
No, but you are literally a one-man operation.
Yeah,
My colleague Patrick covers some of the visual art stuff to help me.
sure.
But he's like me. He has 12 different hats. His time, I'll be like, Patrick, I can't get to this art gallery. Is this something you might be interested in? He'll pitch in and help. So, I mean, I have a little help, but it really, it's the way of the world. It's the way of the media landscape.
If you need
Yeah.
me, Matt, I'm available to not stand up.
I think we should give Matt a standing ovation ourselves because
Yeah.
Matt, you are completely deserved.
Just gonna,
I can still see, so I get to sit.
You said,
I love it.
I love it.
and I think, yeah.
I
go
was like,
ahead,
I have a
Jen, go ahead.
random question. It has nothing to do with Basquiat. First of all, Matt, thank you for never getting Olivia Ashley and I mixed up in your reviews because it's happened in the past.
Yes, I really mixed some of you up in my head, but that was really,
That's okay.
really great.
Okay, now you know.
When I was meeting like 5,000 people at once.
But you did not write the review that Jen and I like to refer to, in which I reviewed for a performance that Jen gave, including photo caption.
Yeah.
Wow, that's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I've mixed up two actors before, but it wasn't mixing up who they were as humans. It was just mixing up their names because they had the same first name, and I typed
That's
it wrong.
different.
Oh,
Which is
well,
And it
that's
was
That's
completely humiliating. And I'll tell you, those guys were both super, super nice to me.
Oh, good.
oh, good.
That's
They were
should
the
be.
wrong friend to go. Oh, God, why am I jinxing any
Yeah, right?
about like because it just means you're gonna make a terrible mistake any second now.
No. You
But you'd be amazed how your brain places. All right, I'll admit this. I just made a terrible mistake.
okay.
It was of all things, and it's one of those ones where it's just like, oh, what was I thinking? I wrote a story for a column of the Philharmonic, which is doing a lot more of these films where the orchestra plays. It's actually an
Yes.
orchestral concert
The Star Wars, it was great.
same time, and they're super fun and interesting. You pay so much more attention to the music and how it's working.
Yeah.
And they have a bunch coming up. And I mentioned the movie Psycho. And I meant to say Tony Perkins, of course.
Anthony?
Yeah.
And I
Anthony
Anthony
Perkins.
Hopkins.
Oh, that one, yeah.
You said Anthony Hopkins.
the lamps.
Yeah, he
And
played
that's
Hitchcock.
exactly what I was thinking of.
Brain was
And just right, you can sort of see how my brain pattern worked. But it's
Yes.
I'm completely the wrong person. And a reader very kindly wrote it.
Good.
And even said, I can actually see what your brain did,
uh-huh.
but I'm sure you know it's really Tony Perkins. And I was like, thank you so much, because even if it's wrong in the paper, I can correct it online for
Yes.
years,
Right.
and we do. But I mean, yeah, stuff like that. I don't think I've ever done an entire review.
A tire review.
But the wrong.
We still have to find it. We gotta like subscribe
a-
to newspapers.com and like find it.
I'm still picturing something like Mother isn't feeling well today.
That's the crossover we did.
And that is somebody's
Yeah.
fringe show next.
Fringe show, right? We come up with a lot of fringe shows on this podcast.
Anthony.
Psycho and the Lambs. The title,
Yeah.
right?
I go of
You
the
heard it here first.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah.
We're
That's right.
doing it. No doubt.
But I have this random question. So, other than writing, obviously, was there an art form that you ever took part in, like in school, or you still do? You know, are you a clarinet player? I don't know.
Wow. No, I took piano lessons my entire,
Okay.
which is the basis of my music background, and then I marched in marching band playing I guess you would call it a glockenspiel, but not like the little one, the kind that looks like a piano keyboard that you
Oh
strap on.
my God!
Yeah.
Yes.
And they basically were like, we need somebody who knows the keyboard that can play piano and who is tall, big enough to like hold
Carry it.
And so I was drafted into marching band, and I'm like, this is the weirdest instrument ever. Oh my god, so much fun, because it's like playing the piano, but it's like pounding.
Yeah, yeah. great. I love it.
I did all that in high school. My high school was very small. It was the second smallest public high school in New York State. So we did
Okay.
not have like a drama program or anything like that. This is back in the olden times.
I
But
get
we
it.
We had one musical when I was just the chorus teacher,
Mhm.
and got with like an English teacher, decided they were going to
Yep.
do a musical.
Yeah.
Yep.
Opus.
Yes.
That was my school. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was, I was only in 8th grade, so I was like, sailor number 2. I had
Right.
like one solo line in
That's all I could name.
yes. Thank you. Like,
Many
and
years
then
ago.
when I came to Orlando, I was in 2 community theater productions.
You were.
What were you in?
Yes, very community, like church, like below anything. I mean, it had to be below anything I would potentially cover. It was just like a little church.
Right.
So, one was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Oh.
Were you Charlie Brown?
No, I was.
Oh.
I'm too happy to be Charlie
Sailor
Brown.
T- he
I'm
was
not a
sailor
good
number
actor.
2.
I'm not an actor. I was Schroeder.
Oh.
Oh, with the
Of course,
piano.
duh.
Look at that full circle.
Yes, and it was a fascinating learning experience. I mean, I know the theater literally involves blood, sweat, and tears, but it really did. At one point in the show, this is just one crazy example. I, as Schroeder, am playing my little toy piano, and Lucy is, harassing me.
Yeah.
And we had this bust of Beethoven, and I had to slam it down. Like, when I get finally fed up, but the cartoon,
Yeah.
I can't stand it, whatever. I slam it down and feel it break in my hand. Because,
It's like disintegrating.
I mean, the bass like just cracked all the way through. And I'm like, and I hold it with one hand, I just hold on to it, finish the scene, and I need this like 2 scenes later for Beethoven Day, where I am like doing all this stuff with
With
it.
his now broken
With his now
bust.
broken bust.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
run off stage, and Charlie Brown, the actor playing Charlie Brown, the gentleman playing Charlie Brown, the fellow Persian, was also kind of our handyman, like set builder.
Great.
Yes.
Well, many hats. Yes.
And, this is so low tech. I'm just like, the bus broke. He's like, I have a glue gun. He's playing Charlie Brown, running on stage, coming back, working on the thing, and he had that done by Beethoven, literally hot glue, and I just took it out there. Hot glue, and the show went on without
I
a hitch.
love it.
That
I
we got a little
love it.
glimpse of what
Yeah.
happens
So,
all the time.
The other highlight of that show, which, and again, sympathy for actors, although I'm not a professional actor, I screwed up Poor Sally Brown's song twice, 2 different performances. If you know the show, she sings My Philosophy, and Schroeder,
Yep.
like her stooge sidekick in that. I have like an important part of like singing like the bridge, or I can't remember, this is years ago. But anyway, one time I cut to the end accidentally, and we had live music. It was not tracked. We had people,
Oh,
and the music director was astounding. Like, he saw what I did, and they all just went with it.
went with you.
And then the second time, I guess to make up for that subconsciously, I looped back and repeated the bridge, and we just did the whole end of the song twice. I'm getting all my true confessions of this. And then the other show I did at that church was, I was actually Joseph, and Joseph the Amazing
Oh, yay.
Oh my
I'll tell you why I
gosh.
was Joseph, because it's a pro and a con. I could sing Close Every Door beautifully.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to them was, I cannot dance at all. So you have to I cannot be a dancer. I'm happy to help out and do
Yeah,
it.
has to make me Joseph.
I can't be, you may be Pharaoh if you need mummies, but I don't know, or something. Potiphar.
We'll be the lead then.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can't dance, and I really can't dance.
That's what I tell people too, Matt.
I
I can't dance. You got to
That's
make me
how
the
Jen
lead.
gets her lead. That's her. I'm so sorry. I have to be the lead. I can't dance a lick.
And it was a brilliant production because I literally just stood there in that coat and everybody dances around me. That's kind of what every production of Joseph
Yes, it is.
Really
Even the Donny Osmond version. So you're fine.
Mine was like, and I remember I knew that because you did what was the feature on when I was assistant directing Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for when CFC Arts did it for the Broadway concert series, and we sat down to do an interview about it. And you're like, I played Joseph. I was like, what? This was
I love it.
The other reason I could play Joseph is because I'd been singing that score since I was,
Yeah.
14. I really didn't have to learn it. I mean, I already knew
Right.
it. I just
You're
had
like,
to
I got this.
Yeah.
So great.
But the funny story for that show was the near disaster. Well, there were several near disasters, but
Are there always?
for amateur off Broadway, off community theater was I have to have my precious golden cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pharaoh precious golden cup, which gets stolen, and that's like the whole climax of the entire
Catalyst.
show. It had gotten a little chipped. It was made of one of my co-stars had made out of paper mache and spray painted it. It was actually really cool, but it had gotten chipped, and she took it home to like patch it up and make it look it better like partway through the run.
Yeah.
I go off stage during the performance, and I'm like, "Where is the golden cup?" And I just see poor face just go, "No, thank God." But she's like, "It's in my car," which doesn't sound terrible, except we are in the middle of the show. The parking lot for this church is massive, and the way out there's only one way out. I mean, she's like takes off, and I am like, okay, I need a plan B if she doesn't get back. And basically the plan B, and we had staged it in modern-ish dress. It was not period.
Okay.
People had like jeans. I wore I think white, like light khakis under the coat. I mean,
No beards, no sandals.
right. So I mean, we had some modern winks in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a red Solo cup sitting back there.
One of you stole that precious Solo cup.
So I pick it up, but as I'm literally walking on stage, and I kid you not, I mean, I'm entering the stage, she comes running in with it, and I literally walked on stage kind of like walking like an Egyptian, reaching back, dropping the cup, grabbing the cup from her, and then doing it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
love it.
amazing.
Oh my God.
So what I'm saying is I
Fantastic.
do have sympathy and appreciation
Yeah.
for actors when things go wrong.
And they always do.
So the next time a performer may be on stage doing a show and there is a mishap, like, oh God, Matt Palm is going. You'll just be like, I know, I've been there.
That's
I've
right.
been there.
And actually, if something goes terribly wrong, you get credit from me, depending on how you recover.
Handle it.
That's the moment in the character.
Yeah.
Being what you are making the truth what is happening.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you stop and stare at the audience and panic, well, no, then
Right.
that's amateurish. If you react and keep things
You
going,
can't ignore it. I hate
Right.
when people ignore
Right.
it.
Yeah,
I
it's
broke
like you
your
brought
glass
the-
so well.
that fish on stage and it stayed there for the rest of the show.
Okay.
Right. Because nobody would-
Don't do that.
it's right. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, something I just saw on my last trip to New York. I can't remember what show. I don't remember what show it was. I saw a lot of shows, but a fly, a giant fly, had gotten in the theater and just flew around those actors for a good half an hour. I mean, to the point where they had to sometimes. I mean, it's just instinct. You can't have a fly. And they were so good because they didn't. They didn't ad lib any lines. They stuck to the script. Because I kept thinking someone's gonna mention that fly eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't need to because they just made it part of the deal. Like when one of them looked at it, the other one would be like one of them looked around and they thought, is he looking like for something he wants to like swat? I mean,
Smack
Yeah.
the
they
fly.
worked with it in a way that did not take away from the play or wasn't obtrusive. Like you say, didn't just ignore it because the whole audience, of course, was like mesmerized by this fly.
Right.
It was just so weird. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a play that was disturbed by an insect.
Well, Matt,
Matt,
this has been
thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you so much for being our first
Our first
guest.
interview.
Yeah.
First
that's-
guest.
Thank you so much, Matt, for
Thank
joining us.
you.
And I can't wait to make everybody in the theater community listen to this so
Yes.
that they understand who you are, what you do, and what you don't do.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Matt.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care, everybody.
Thank you.
And scene.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Wicked Stage Pod.
Follow us on Instagram and check out our Patreon for more exclusive content.
These deliciously wicked episodes drop every other Friday, so make sure you subscribe or follow and don't get left waiting in the wings.